Hi, this is Bill Irvine, CEO of Stremor, back to haunt you about lean startups. This time, though, I want to take a sideways step and cover the buzzword that has arisen out of lean startups, and that is that minimum viable product. In our first video series, Brandon and Greg jumped in, and so did I, obviously, on some subjects more towards the operations and the functional aspects of being a lean startup and getting started up as being lean, but not necessarily without any money. But this is more to focus, like I said, on the minimum viable product, something that a lot of people are really misunderstanding and misinterpreting out there. It is not necessarily just launch anything. And because of the misinterpretations, they're getting it wrong. And what we see coming out of these startups is really nothing more than a gold-plated pile of shit with pixie dust. And that will get you nowhere. That will turn your customers off right away and not give you the chance for iteration through customer feedback, which is sort of the main operational goal of that minimum viable product as a lean startup, is you want to have a chance to iterate. And if the product is shit out the gate, you're not going to get any feedback. And I'm not the only one to have seen this in the industry. Actually, Eric Ries, not necessarily the person who started the movement, but who popularized it with his book, Lean Startups, he said, it's not a race to get big. It's a race to a great product. Even though we're talking minimum viable, it still has to be great. And there's more people noticing this as well. In the blogosphere, David Aiken from the Harvard Business Review says, in the pursuit of a minimum viable product, we've seen that it's important to evaluate early on the critical components that will differentiate an offer from the competition and make a product truly viable. It's an important point to remember. Also, Andy Budd in Blogography, in the rush to deliver a minimum viable set of features, we often ignore the elements that make the product really great. As quality gets stripped back in preference for functionality, we slowly see our products become ever more minimal and ever less viable. Do you notice a theme here? People are seeing the products coming out of these incubators and startup accelerators as not being as good as they should be, as not giving the people in these startups the chance to really, like I said earlier, iterate and learn from customer feedback, because the product is not as good as it should be. Here at Stremor, okay, I can toot my horn because this is my video, right? We're doing it right. I guarantee you. I sit here in my office and I look out to the production floor, and yes, we are about to release our first minimum viable product. It is very viable. It will be very useful. And I know that because I see the team stressing over the details. They're not rushing to get it out the door. They are stressing to make sure it's perfect by the time it gets out the door. It's a very serious and important differentiation between doing a minimum viable product right and doing it wrong. So remember, lean doesn't mean starving. We talked about that in the first set. It doesn't necessarily mean you don't have a lot of money. Lean is more about a philosophy for how you develop that first product. It doesn't mean stupid, as I talked about. Make sure that first product is incredibly useful and very important for the people you're targeting. And it doesn't mean a fast exit. Other people have talked about this as well. As you have a lean startup, you're going for your minimum viable product. If you focus on creating a product you believe someone will be interested in acquiring, you're not focused on creating a product people will use. And if you create a product people will use, chances are someone's going to want to acquire you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.